Alrighty guys, this is Snugsonblitz, and I wasn't going to do another video on the Unreal Engine, but a lot of people in the game have sent me messages. What do I think? What are my thoughts? Also, my clanmates have asked questions, and of course, we don't really have many answers. That's why I don't like to do these hypothetical videos, but I just want to throw my 2 cents in and give you my thoughts. I've already made a video on it, and I can understand what Wargaming is going for. I think the biggest issue with this Unreal update that we're getting probably later this year, when we don't know, is just there's so much change going on at one go. People like new, but they don't like too much new. If you rework the whole thing, people are like, what the hell's going on here? Where is this? Where's that? And that's what I'm hearing from every YouTuber struggling to get to their tanks to find how to update things or change this or do that. And if it's tough for people who've played the game for a long time, I don't know how it would be easier for newer players when it was not that difficult before. They could have simplified it, yes, but they decided to throw so many things out the window, starting with the tech tree, and now we have sets. Now, I don't have a problem with sets per se. First off, I like the graphics here. It does look nicer, but random tanks put together. I know people have talked about that. I kind of get that they're why the tanks are put together in most cases. Some of them a little bit out of whack, but I get it. Similar play style, heavy type tanks, hard hitting guns, stuff like that. But the names, I mean, steel antlers. What does that tell me? I mean, okay, is it a very armored tank? I mean, that's what steel refers to, strong. And a Leo in tier 7, not much armor except maybe the turret. I mean, the STRV 74A2, steel antlers. Come on, give me a break. So I'm not a fan of the way they've titled these sets. I like the layout of the Netflix style interface. I'm a fan of that. I think that's great. But as I said before, I think it's just better to say like German mediums, German tank destroyers, German heavy tanks, because people like that. We're used to that. There was nothing wrong with it. It worked. And I just think it just needed a little bit of sprucing up. And that's great. The key thing, I see that they're already reworking that, and they're only going to put sets that have all premium tanks. They won't need keys, but normal sets will. Again, I kind of get it, but it's kind of a paywall, and people who have money will just pay for it anyway, so it doesn't really slow their progress down getting tanks. So not a fan of that. Just there was nothing wrong with grinding tanks as it was, but I mean that does look nice. But Wargaming's already on the case because of a few comments that they received on their Reforged update. Of course, one of the things that they're looking at are these things. The commanders, I mean, yes, she absolutely looks like a tank commander in World War II with a blue and pink hair. Genius. Yeah. I have no problem with commanders per se. I just wish they looked a little bit more authentic. So could we just customize them slightly? I mean, giving him a shotgun, that to me just makes more sense if he's going into war, not playing putt-putt golf. The graphics, yeah, as I've heard from nearly every YouTuber, they're just not that good. And since this is a major update, you'd want the graphics to look quite a bit better, as they haven't really changed for many years. I mean, yes, we have gotten PBR and things like that, but yeah. Now, this concept of changing this into commanders, I get, because a long time ago, I mean, I was level 1. It took forever to grind this. It was annoying as hell. But I knew that was the case, and people who, I think you could upgrade this for gold. Some people did. People paid for it to upgrade, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a little bit unfair punishing people who've taken the time to do that. But I get it because, yeah, new players who are level 1 versus this, I mean, that's not really fair. So changing it to something like this, I get. But as I said in my previous video, it's a lot more haphazard, a lot more randomness to the game, because you have to keep track of how many shells people have fired. I mean, increased firing, sure, but areas improvement. So are they getting the improvement or not? That's not what I'm a fan of. What else is there that I need to talk about? Teammates, the colors, they're going to change it back to green, which makes sense. Nothing wrong there. They are reworking the commanders. One has been completely removed, so they know that some of these are overpowered. Stats will be put back in, it seems. When, I'm not sure, when it first releases or a little bit later on. The API will be back in as well, so that means Blitz stars can continue and you're able to compare stats. I mean, Blitz is a competitive game, and people want to see their progress. Are they getting better? I mean, I like these ideas. Your tank has improved optics. That's right. That's great. But this one, the two shell kind of concept, I'm just not really a fan of it because as an enemy tank, I have to keep track of how many shots did he fire? If it's like 2 penetrating shots, then the third penetrating shot. So did that shot penetrate? Did it not? It makes me much more cautious, especially pushing out against a tank destroyer. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. All the currencies they've shoved into the game. You've got books here to level up your commander. I mean, okay, that's another thing, which was basically consumables, not consumables, the equipment that, what do you call it, to level 7. Now they've got level 20. So to me, it's like you're kind of putting it back in again. They say that they want to simplify it, but you're doing the same thing over again. So it's kind of like just resetting things. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I also do think that the tank commanders, if they don't have that many of them, that gameplay will be very, maybe it'll almost be too similar. But to be fair, pretty much everyone chose the same equipment on their tanks. Yeah. So yeah, I wish they had come up with a little bit more variety there. And I'm not a fan of these level up kind of things because that's just another thing we have to level up. What else is there? They have talked about that Pramo will be just for credits, which is maybe a good idea because pros would equip it. They didn't care how much credits they had to spend, but other people were afraid because they thought you had to pay gold for it. It was a little bit confusing. Some people didn't know that. I know that because I talked to them myself. Provisions, yeah, and supposedly new players weren't using them. Yeah, a lot of new players are cheap. So if you make things seemingly expensive, I ran into a guy in a T29 playing against tier 6 tanks, and no matter what tank he came across, he would just fire HE frontally, even heavily armored tanks. And I'm like, he was doing 20 damage, 15 damage, and I was like, bruh, as they say today, that's just not the best idea. And he's like, no, I'm saving money. I'm smart, aren't I? I'm okay, you're going to lose a lot, which means you're going to lose credits. He didn't seem to get that. So, yeah, I get all that. The crew, they got rid of the leveling up the crew, but now you have to level the commanders. I mean, there's all these things that are a little bit sad. Of course, they added steel as well, another currency. So you got, what was it? You had books, keys, steel, and gold. Some of them are the same. They've just reworked the names, but Wargaming said they want to quote unquote simplify the game. There's no way that was simplified. I took one look and went, that is just all over the place, and it's just complicated everything. Again, I think if they'd made a few changes off the bat, like first making the sets into German nation and French nation, French medium, stuff like that, and then maybe split them up into other things later on, I think it would have been easier for people. But when you change everything in one go, you change the color, you change the equipment, you change the commanders, a new thing, you put this in, you take this out, you do that. It's like, blah. There's no way that's simplifying the game, especially for all the tankers out there right now. And then new tankers, I don't think it's easier for them either. My big issue with the sets was the name. The names don't really refer to anything except maybe every now and then you can kind of get like defenders. Oh, okay, I know what that is. But as I said, steel antlers or an onslaught. I get what onslaught means, but what tanks are going to be in there? I have no clue. So it's just a bit all over the place. Hopefully, Wargaming will get this right. I have no doubt they'll be tweaking things, changing things, doing this, doing that, so that this update is not a failure. They do not want to put it in too early because they will obviously impact the game way too badly with the current tanking community. But hopefully, if they get it right, the tanking community will stay loyal and they'll be able to attract new players because it'll be a little bit easier for them to get into the game and understand what they're doing. So, those are my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you next time. Snugsonblitz out.